Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to today's webinar from LinkAbility. We are really pleased to have you here today, and I am so thrilled to be talking once again about LinkedIn company pages. We ran a webinar about company pages only 4 months ago, and our guest today is the same person who helped talk about company pages back then, Michelle J Raymond, and we're very happy to have her with us again today from Sydney. Before we start, I'd just like to mention that we are recording today's webinar, and it will be available as a link to you tomorrow for people who have registered. Now, my name is Lynnaire Johnston. I'm the word wizard and I'm a LinkedIn specialist, and I'm based in New Zealand. And today I'm very pleased that we are welcoming Michelle Raymond from Sydney, and we are going to be talking today about business gold, building awareness, authority, advantage through LinkedIn company pages. And so I'm hopeful that Michelle will join us in just a moment to be able to tell us a little bit about company pages. But I'm going to introduce her first of all and tell you that she's a company pages specialist from Sydney. Her company is Good Trading Company. And if you are not following her on LinkedIn, you should be, because she always shares lots of great tips and ideas about LinkedIn company pages. Now, since we spoke to Michelle back in May, she has become an international LinkedIn company pages specialist. She has been featured on many podcasts, webinars, and on Clubhouse rooms as well, where she talks extensively about the value of company pages. And I'm very thrilled that Michelle and I have been working together this year to co-author a book also called Business Gold, and we hope to have that out next month. We're just on the final stages of it now. So welcome back, Michelle.
Well, there's an introduction that I just want to acknowledge you as the first person that really jumped on board the company pages train back, 4 months ago, and, even probably before that. But it's really exciting to be back here because in just that short time, we've seen so much change, right? Writing the book, it's hard to keep up with all the changes. So yeah, excited to be talking about this.
Fantastic. And, I found exactly the same problem last year when I was writing my book, LinkAbility. Every time I thought I was ready to go to print, something else would change. And, I received an email this morning from LinkedIn, and you probably did too, about another change to company pages. And it is so very difficult to keep up. But we're going to be talking about those today. So first of all, what I'd like to do is just to talk about, show people what we're going to be talking about today, and then just to start the session with the first of these points, which is why we should take company pages seriously. Now, when Michelle and I started to work on this, we were scratching our heads for some ideas around this, but now we have got more reasons to take company pages seriously than we can really shake a stick at. And I think that we came up with something like 29 different reasons. So we're just going to talk about a few of those today. We're going to talk about some of the changes that have happened to company pages in the past 4 months, and what we think might be happening, because there's still more changes to come, and Michelle's all over that. And we'll talk a bit about some recent research by the Dutch social seller Richard van der Blom into company pages. He's done a very wide-ranging report on LinkedIn generally, and so we'll be talking about the algorithm as it pertains to company pages. And there were some interesting surprises in that. So we're going to start off with reasons to take company pages seriously. Michelle, over to you. Number one, the opportunities to harness the networks of employees. Tell us about that.
Honestly, it's the biggest advantage that company pages really have over personal profiles. And often we get so focused on the fact that when a company page post goes out, the differences in how LinkedIn shares that, it's almost, the stats are around, it goes to about 10% of your personal followers. It goes to about 3% of your page followers. And we think, oh my God, there's not as much reach in company pages. But if you factor in that if you leverage your employees, you've really got an unfair advantage. So if you're a company that just has 10 employees, each with 1,000 followers, and that's not that hard to achieve, 1,000 followers. Most people have a lot more. Then it just becomes this multiplier effect. And being able to work with your team to leverage off that is an advantage that you just can't achieve by yourself on a personal profile. So that's one of the reasons that I actually, love company pages. I love bringing the team of employees together, because the success of the company relies on the employees and vice versa. So a great way to do it here in company pages.
I agree. And I was contacted this morning by a company that wants to be known as the employer of choice in their field, and are thinking of using LinkedIn to be able to help them to do that. And from what I've seen with company pages, I think that that's a really good way to be able to do it through employee advocacy, because there are a lot of opportunities there already, and presumably more coming down the pipe, do you think, in terms of that, to be able to use employees within, almost to make the company page an intranet for people or companies to be able to use for their employees? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. The My Company tab is exactly that. So it's a private space for employees to get to know colleagues. And so you can see if other colleagues are posting, and, it's okay if you've just got a small business and everyone's in the same office, but think about it for these multinational companies that operate across geographies, and, often departments might be in separate locations. Then it's a really great opportunity for these people to get to know each other, support each other's posts, and learn what's going on outside of that little small community and expand it. So again, just the opportunities are there for everybody. But the part that you've highlighted, which I love, is that a company page has like three masters, as we say in the book, is that you've got the HR team who wants to build it up as an employer of choice. You've got the marketing team wanting to generate brand awareness and leads. And then you've got the sales team going, don't forget about social selling. So it's just amazing that it's able to do all three things.
And way more, as you and I both know, because one of the things I like about company pages is the ability to hold events. And we'll talk a bit more about some changes that are happening to events very soon. But one of the things I like about the fact that you can have with the events is you can set it up on a separate page with a separate URL and invite people to come to the event directly from the page. You can put up all kinds of information about the page and make sure that people understand what's going on, where the event's being held, how to register, and really to kind of whip up some interest in the event, which I think is an excellent way to do that. So being able to use events to build brand awareness and generate leads, I think, is important. And one thing that a lot of people don't really understand or even know is that when somebody agrees to attend one of your events, then that shows up in the highlight section on their profile. So someone else visiting their profile will see that they are attending your event. And that's not only for the future. If they have attended your event or have said they're going to, then that stays on their highlight section too, until something else comes along and removes it or overtypes it, if you like. And I think that that's a kind of extra publicity or promotion for your business that most people don't understand exists. And that's something I really like about events too. But we're going to come back and talk more about events very shortly. So, page setup, Michelle, is it easy?
Absolutely. We're talking, depending on your skill level, if you just follow the instructions that LinkedIn gives you, it's a step-by-step and probably takes no more than half an hour to set up. Also free. We come back to this point all the time, but if you're just starting out with maybe a side hustle or a new idea for a business, setting up a new website can be expensive, and there's a lot of expenses up front. So if you're just trying something out, I suggest setting up a company page and start using that as your website until maybe you've got a bit more behind you, or the idea is a bit more concrete and you're willing to take a bit more risk. So when you're looking at the page setup, we always talk about the banner or the cover image as being, your piece de resistance. It's got to reflect your business and all of your, your personality in your business, what you stand for and what you do. So make sure you use it wisely, because it takes up so much space on the company page. So also the tagline or the headline is something that's important as well. Don't forget to make that, it's only about 120 characters. So it's short, sharp, punchy, and make sure that, it could be just your company's, tagline, but it could also just show people what you do. So try to play around with it a little bit and, just I think there's never anything that's done in setup that you just set and forget. It's always something that I always come back and see what's working and what's not, and see if there's a better way to do it. Also, your about section, make sure that you spend some time to really perfectly craft that. Who does your business work with? Who's your target audience? How do you help them? Like, what is it that your business actually solves? Why do you exist? So that when I come in here and I'm doing my research, often without knowing, so we know that 70 to 80% of the buying decision is done before people reach out. So people are looking around, even if they're not doing the like and comment, we know that they're there. So just make sure that it's really valuable information that they can find.
Do you think, Michelle, that there's going to be more option for to make company pages more visual? You know how on a profile you've got the featured section and you can add media to various places like your experience section. Do you think that LinkedIn is going to make changes to company pages to allow that kind of thing to happen as well?
Look, I think at the moment, no. And the reason I say no is just because I think the product pages that we're going to be talking about today that roll out further really take over that. So you're allowed to have, about 5 documents that highlight screenshots or links or screen recordings that talk about your products or services. So I think that's where they'll take it. At the moment, I think it's just going to be about, going and being able to find information on the company page. So using the tabs, so whether it's for events or whether it's for videos, being able to easily find information on a page, because over time you build up so much on there, right? Like, it's just, you look back in 12 months and it's like, whoa, there's a lot. So we've got to make it easy for people to actually go back and look into that.
I agree. I think that's an excellent point. All right. The thing that I like about company pages too is the fact that you can post content there in the same way that you can post content from your personal profile. And this year they've made changes so that all the formats that you can post on your profile can now also be used on company pages. And that includes articles. And we're going to talk a bit more about that too. But I think that the ability to post from your profile and your page is an excellent way to be able to divide up your content into what might be more personal in terms of your thought leadership and your opinion about what might be going on in your industry, and your page, which might give more information about what is going on in terms of legislation changes, perhaps, or updates, maybe to do with the company or things that are going on for you, although perhaps some personal information about your team as well. But a lot of people think that it's going to be quite difficult to find different types of content for their profile and their page. I never have a problem with that at all, and I don't think you do either, Michelle. And it's very clear once you start delineating the fact that your profile information or content can be more personal, and for example written in the first person, whereas on your page it might be written in the third person and is about the entity. So I think that there are lots of opportunities there to be posting from pages in a really positive way that build your brand really effectively. Now, some people will say that you don't get much in the way of engagement or views on your posts from your company page, and I beg to differ. I think it depends how big a following you have, and it would seem to me that once you reach 500 followers, things really start to ramp up for you with your page. But once you get over that too, then people will start seeing more of your content in their news feeds. And then that means that you can be seen, your company can be seen, and your company logo can be seen more widely. So I'm a great fan of posting content from your page. And I know that you agree too, Michelle.
You're not going to get any arguments from me. And I would say that you can also use personal I and we and human kind of content over on the personal page. But again, it comes down to what kind of business do you have? What works for you? Like, there's never a one size fits all. That is the one thing that we absolutely agree on, is that when you are, talking about company pages, just as every company is different, every page and what works on that page is going to be different as well.
So I'm just going to say here again that these are just 4 reasons why Michelle and I think that smaller businesses need to be taking company pages seriously. And we include 29 of those in our book, Business Gold. And so you'll be able to read all about the other reasons once you get that in your hot little hands, which we hope won't be very far away. So now there have been many changes to company pages this year, Michelle, and I don't know how you're managing to keep up, to be honest. And so these are the three that we've decided to talk about today. So I'm really intrigued to see product pages becoming more widely available. Now, I'm right, that's being rolled out, but it's not available yet to everybody. And it had been available only to companies that were in the software industry. So now we're all going to be able to use this. So could you tell us a little bit about what makes product pages so special and why we should be excited about those?
Oh, look, and I am super excited about this because, as you said, it was something that was only available to digital products up until now. So what's a digital product? Think things like Canva, Adobe, those kind of things. So when we look at a product page, the reason that I get excited is that you can actually really highlight, unique features and services and, parts to this actual product. So how's it broken up? So you get a unique page, which links back into the main company page so that there is a correlation between the two. Once you've got those two linked, when you go into the actual product page, there's a few things that I like. I like that it gets a unique about section. So you can really niche down, start to use those keywords to talk about your actual product, so it's not lost in the generalization, especially if you've got lots and lots of different products in your company. So from there, so you've got a really cool about section that you've put a lot of effort and detail into it. Then what you get to do is you get to say who's the product best suited for. So you get to target job functions. So for instance, it might be marketing managers, it might be finance managers, it might be targeted at HR managers. So you get to actually highlight and say that's who this product is most suited to. You also then get to highlight, like a featured section like we see on the personal profiles. On the product page, this is where we start to see that kind of thing play out. So screenshots, how-to videos, white papers potentially, anything along those lines that really highlights the best parts of the product that you've got so that people get a feel for it. Because this is a lead generation tool specifically. So this is people like your company, they want to know more about what you offer, they come across onto the product page, do a deep dive into it, and then start to find out more information. The other good thing that it's got on there is you can highlight major customers that you've worked with previously. So you get to add those in. And so if you've worked with some big name brands and want to show that to people that come and visit your page, then they'll actually be able to see that. So we don't get to see that on the company page. The next thing that we also get, which we don't get anywhere else on company pages, on the product page, is actually recommendations. So building up the social proof around your product is, equally as important. And we've seen recommendations roll out to the, other parts of LinkedIn. So when you combine all of this in a unique, targeted way, it is literally then there's a call to action button, which is also, about it's the lead gen side. And it does some analytics around that. So you can trace that if you're responsible to other people. So I'm super excited about this one. This is the one, it looks good. It's something that not everyone's had. So it doesn't have employees. The only way it links back to a profile. So, and I know, Lynnaire, you're the profile guru here. But what actually happens is you can add that product as a skill. So by clicking on one button, it automatically adds it as a skill onto your personal profile. So they do link in together, which is cool. So, and
you said it has a unique page. So presumably you could copy the URL and add that profile to showcase that. Now, two questions about that. It's a call to product page, but I'm assuming that we can use it for services. You and I provide services, so I presume that we can do it for that. And also, is there any idea how long it might take for it to be available to most of us?
Yeah. So what I read in my research, around the place is that they said soon. Okay. So define soon. Now, I had no idea. To me, that in LinkedIn land, I was hoping it would be this quarter, maybe the next one. But what I did discover is just 2 days ago, one of my clients actually has all of a sudden the product tab, with no notice, like, typical with LinkedIn, it just popped up one day. And I was like, that wasn't there yesterday. What's going on? And so I'm going to record something and show people how to set that up. I don't have it on any of my other pages. It was just this one that has, very few followers. It's literally a brand new page. So it was really interesting to see that it popped up on that one. But I'll definitely, have a look. But it seemed like a really really simple process to set it up. I manage one that's an existing one. I like it because what I didn't mention before, sorry, I forgot, is that you also have groups linked to these products. So the reason, and we talk about groups, typically, people look down their nose at them because they haven't been really effective. What I would say is I'm backing groups for the future, same as I backed company pages for the future. If I rewind the clock, even 18 months, maybe a different conversation. The tech behind it, the usability, the reach wasn't there, but LinkedIn's out to change that. And I've specifically had a conversation with the team at LinkedIn as part of my advisory council role. And so what happens is they know the shortcomings. They know everyone's got Facebook groups and other groups off the platform, and they're working on it. So this is something that links to a product. So if you want a good example, go and have a look at Canva. It's a digital product that we all use, pretty regularly. It has a group attached to it. Why would you want a group? Because you want the people using your product to talk about your product and generate all of that awareness, so that's something you don't have to pay for. And it's that social proof that we talk about so often. But ultimately, if you can get your clients and customers to talk about you, it has so much more weight than when you do it yourself. So that's the other exciting part that goes with product pages.
Well, I can't wait for it either. If anybody already has this, please drop a note in the chat and let us know, because it would be good to see whether or not it's being rolled out any further than the people that you already know, Michelle. All right, fantastic. Now, another new thing this year has been the arrival of articles to company pages. Now, I'm a fan of articles because as a writer, of course, I really like long form content. And so to be able to have articles on a company page to build up as a library like you do on your personal profile, to me seems like a really good idea. And in fact, I put one up on my own company page just yesterday, because the more I do it, I figure the better I'm going to get results from it, because more people will see the articles. Now, traditionally, of course, articles don't do very well in terms of views, but there seems to be a little more leeway, or perhaps more people are interested in articles on company pages. I don't know, but they do seem to be doing better. And I remember, we'll talk about this in the research section, that Richard Vanderblom has said that they do better than articles on personal profiles. So that I'm finding exceedingly interesting. So now tell me why you think articles are a great addition to the posting lineup for company pages.
Yeah, and normally we hear things like people don't have attention spans, so shorter is better, and this goes against that, so the immediate response is, why would they push articles which traditionally don't get very much reach, that, we're told that people don't have the attention span? Why would LinkedIn Pages team go down this path with articles? So, and I've done a bit of research, and some of it comes up, it's called the Edelman report. I think I've pronounced that right. Apologies if I've got it wrong. But LinkedIn commissioned a report into, working with some businesses to find out what it is that they wanted. Now, we've spoken about, we know the digital modern buyer is researching online all the time. The problem that we're finding, especially in the last 18 months, when everybody moved their digital selling practices forward, that maybe weren't ready for this, but were forced to, what happened was we got so much content put out there that was essentially just rubbish. It wasn't valuable. I would say it's even done just for SEO purposes more than anything, it wasn't really done to add value. Now, there's a quantity over quality problem here. So LinkedIn's actually saying to people, no, what the market actually wants is these long form, really highly valuable articles. So in an article, you can make it really, there's lots of options to add in things to make it interesting. So you've got snippets, you've got quotes, you've got images, you can embed videos. So there's a whole range of things that can make this like a rich media, a format. Now, with that, being too educational makes it boring, and being too entertaining makes it non-valuable. So it's a blend of trying to find the two, which is why they've got these other features that go in there. So the question that obviously comes up often is, okay, so I write a blog, do I put it on my website, or do I put it in my LinkedIn Pages articles section? And something that I heard this morning, I was just listening back to the Q3 product release with the LinkedIn marketing team. And so what they actually said is, if you think about it, and it was like a light bulb went off for me. When you think about it, why put it on LinkedIn versus your website? Well, the very definition of LinkedIn, it's a social media platform, and it's that social which is key. So having people talk about the article, engaging and making that more useful is something that you don't typically see on websites. Like, we don't go to a website to have a conversation, right? But on a, we go to social media to be social. So, this is where the real advantage is of building up a unique targeted, community following on your page, and the more the better. But if you can also provide a lot of value, then what's going to happen is you just go up and up in your brand awareness and standing in the community. So when I have that need, of course, I'm going to reach out to you because you've already given me all this value. So this is where they see things. So it's all about quality. I found personally, I switched a couple of my clients' posts across to pages, across to articles just in the last couple of weeks. And I'm finding that I'm not seeing any difference whatsoever in how far they go versus a short post. If anything, yes, which I was not expecting. I'll put my hand up. I did it as a test because what kept happening was I've got some clients that have some amazing information, and we kept chopping it all out, right? So they already had it created. And then my job was to take as much out so it would fit in a post that we allegedly thought that that's what, their followers wanted. But when we actually put that value back out there in more detail, it was really interesting to see. But just the organic reach, without doing any tricks or anything like that, just making it valuable, saw it go just as far. So, and I personally, I know Richard's, information that we're going to talk about later, mentions around this. And I think that LinkedIn's going to give pages, articles, a bit of a nudge in the algorithm to make them successful so more people use them. That's my opinion.
Well, I like that idea because, as you know, I think articles are a great way to build credibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they do seem, certainly from a profile, they seem to be indexed by Google. And if that happens on pages, then I think that's even better because they'll be there as a permanent record. And so I agree with you. Sometimes I will put an article on my website first for SEO purposes and then change it slightly to put on LinkedIn. But I've been doing less of that because you're absolutely right. There's virtually no engagement. In fact, I'll be honest, there's no engagement at all on articles on my website, but and so to have people look at them, which is the idea behind anything that you write, is better to have them on LinkedIn. So I'm all for that. So I'm going to go back when we finish today and have a look and see how that article I did yesterday or posted yesterday has gone compared to other recent posts, because I'll be interested to see whether that's done as well too. So thank you for the tip on that one. Right, LinkedIn Lives. I know that you're a fan. Now, hands up, I put my hand up to say I haven't yet had the courage to do a LinkedIn Live, but Michelle, you have been doing these 4 months, and so you are well versed in how easy or not they are to do, and the benefits of using them. So I know that they have some really positive upsides. I'd like to hear about some of the things that maybe don't work quite so well too. So LinkedIn Lives, yes. LinkedIn.
Love them. And yes, it's like, working with animals and children, anything can go wrong on lives. You just have to be prepared that, sometimes things happen. I forgot to press the live button and been talking for 10 minutes only to realize I was talking to myself and the other person. So we had to start again. So there are things that happen, right? And so that's part of it. But the more I've used them, the easier that they become. Now, LinkedIn has literally just launched, hot off the press just today. I was listening to the recording because it was at 4 a.m. this morning, and I'm not that committed. So I know, right? I know you were thinking I would have been, but I slept until 6. So essentially what's going on, Q3 release. Historically with live events, you still have to use a third party to be able to run those live events. So in my case, I use StreamYard. There's other ones like Restream, but essentially it's not held all within LinkedIn platform at this moment in time. So you need a third party. So what would happen was you then have a choice on your company page, and I'm just going to narrow it down to that bit. You had a choice to run between an event and just to your page. Okay, so there was just those 2 things. why would you run to your page? The advantages of that was that it would just show up in the feed, and you could, they would tell a portion of people that you were going live. There was notifications so that you would catch people organically. Maybe someone wasn't planning to come and watch my live on my page, but happened to be on the platform at the time, and LinkedIn sent them a notification, so they jumped in. So that's great. You get some organic traffic. Downside, no analytics, no way of capturing who attended. It was just something that came and went, and it would show up on your, some parts of some tabs, but essentially just come and go. Not very useful for people who are trying to build email lists or have other processes in place that they're trying to follow up, because this is the whole point. So we had some issues there. So the flip side to that is, okay, let's go and create an event, because events, you have chat, you have analytics, you're able to set it as a registered event so you can collect, people's details. And that was great. Except if you hadn't registered for that event and that event came and went, you missed out. There was no way of going after the fact to go back. Yes. So then you're stuck in this conundrum, event or page, and essentially there's pros and cons for both. So LinkedIn listened to this, and I'll give full credit to the Pages team. I think they're doing a super job of listening into what people want. They went away and did the research, and people basically came back and said, we want the best of both worlds, have the cake and eat it too. So LinkedIn actually listened. The Pages team have now combined the two. So it's really simple now to go on to StreamYard, create what we call your broadcast, which is what it's called when you go live, for any time in the future. So up until today, essentially, you could only book a week out in advance. Now, that's not a good way to get good attendance, especially when they limit how much you can, invite people each week. And so what they've done is you can plan out as far in the future as you want. So that's like a huge big tick for me. The thing is, before I used to have to create something in StreamYard, then go back over to, I created an event in LinkedIn, went over to StreamYard, created it in there, and had to join the two. Now what happens is they've removed that. So as soon as I create it in StreamYard, it creates in LinkedIn as an event. And so what we're finding now is it's just become so much simpler. I get the best of both worlds. And again, why would we do it on LinkedIn instead of, on other platforms? It comes down to LinkedIn is social, same as what we said before with articles. So if your followers are already on LinkedIn, used to finding out information from you, the last thing that they want you to do is send people to another platform to engage with them. So the Pages team are really trying to support companies to have as many conversations with the people that they've already built followerships and relationships with, to be able to nurture them here. So so ultimately, simple thing, it's just made life so much easier. They're making the approval process easier. I think what will happen in the future, you'll see it'll just become, you won't need to apply for LinkedIn Live applications on Pages. I think it will be automatic when you set the page up, just based on some things they said this morning. Because, here's the kicker. Why are LinkedIn being so nice here? They're giving us all these presents for Christmas. Why? I tell you why. Because they also happen to have a paid ad that supports event promotion. So if you create more events on LinkedIn, you may want to use their paid media strategies to be obviously promote that event to more people. So that's what's in it for them. Just like making Pages more, attractive, so more people will spend their ad spend on here. Not saying you need to have that, but it's just that's what's in it for them. If you're sitting there going, they're not just being nice for the sake of it.
No, well, that would definitely be true, and I could quite understand why that would be the case, but they wouldn't just be being nice for the sake of that, for certain. Yeah. But I'm really liking the feel of LinkedIn Lives that I'm seeing, and I think people are getting better at them as well. And the more practice you do on anything, whether it's a live or a Zoom or anything, and you're presenting, I think the better you become at it. So I think we'll be seeing a lot more of those. So fantastic. So those are the three changes that we've seen in the last little while. So that was LinkedIn Lives, articles, and product pages, with more to come. I'm very certain. It seems that almost every day there's something new coming along for us. But Richard van der Blom did some research, very extensive research into the LinkedIn algorithm, and he released a fairly major report just a couple of weeks back. So he he did it about all aspects of LinkedIn, but he particularly and profiles and a lot of work on commenting and posting. But he also did some work on company pages. And so that's what I've done here, is taken some of his findings, added them in as points here to see whether or not Michelle and I agree with what Richard has found. So the first thing is that he believes that pages that are completely filled in receive more reach by 20%. Agree or disagree, Michelle?
Well, mostly agree. So, and my disclaimer is LinkedIn actually says that number is 30%. So I'm going to go with the LinkedIn that we've research that we've done directly from LinkedIn says 30%. So let's split it in the middle and say, even if it's like 25, we know that it's important to make sure that your page setup is actually completed, which is why we've, basically dedicated a whole chapter in Business Gold to this particular step, right?
Absolutely. Oh, excuse me.
That's okay. Page setup's super important, and making sure if you created your page sometime back and then you've ignored it because you didn't think that there was any value, make sure that you go back and fill in the gaps. There may be parts that you had all intentions to go back and finish and never quite got around to it. So don't forget to go back and do that. So back to you, Lynnaire, if you're good.
I'm all good now. I hope I did. Sorry, I don't know what's going on today. Best reach, 4 posts a week. Now, I had been posting maybe twice a week from my company page, just because my voice sounds like, I've suddenly become 5. So I was very interested to hear Richard say that 4 posts a week was best. I'm sorry, Michelle, can you take this?
Yeah, of course, no problems. I'll let you choke quietly in the background. So as far as what Richard says, I haven't done the particular research that he has. I can only speak to, the business owners that I work with and that I have conversations with. Whilst that might be ideal from a LinkedIn algorithm perspective, I don't think it's practical in real life unless you've got the resources to manage that. So even with my paid clients, we're talking 3 times a week. For people that don't have resources internally, once a week, they actually say that you double your views. So just leave a trail there. Consistency is going to be more important. So it's no point going off this webinar and going and doing 4 posts per week for the next 2 weeks, disappearing for 6, coming back and doing 1. That's not going to work. I would rather people set out and just do 1 a week if that's what you can cope with, 1 a month if that's what you can cope with. But essentially, is that true or not? I'm going to go with, Richard's done the research. I can only speak to that. But I would say I just don't think that much is practical in real life.
It certainly wouldn't be practical for me, and I would imagine for a lot of people, particularly if you want to keep the quality there.
Yeah.
All right, so employees commenting on a post, a lot better than sharing. Now, several people have queried this in the chat on the webinar today. So I think that would be useful to talk about this, because LinkedIn is in fact suggesting or encouraging even people to share. And I don't see that it has a great deal of value, Michelle, either for the person who is, or the company page where the post is being shared from, or the person who might be sharing it. So what's your thoughts on commenting versus sharing?
Look, I think that share button is so enticing. I wish it would work better than what it does, because LinkedIn encourages you in so many ways when when you're on the page to share it as a personal post. The problem is it never goes anywhere. So I appreciate the people that in the comments that are saying, essentially, comment. There's a couple of ways. It's not entirely a lost cause if someone presses share, but there are better ways that you can help the company page. And that is literally just commenting all on that one post. It will show up in a percentage of your network anyway, but the most important thing is it will drive the algorithm to keep sharing. So keeping in mind, you do a company page post, we know it goes out. I think Richard's research says about 3% of your page followers it's going to go out to. We want those people to engage as much as possible. And starting with your employees is always a good way to start. As I say, it's like, when you're at the wedding, the dance floor is there, it's empty until that one person gets up. So what I would say when it comes to your company page, be that one person that gets up and dances first, and other people will follow.
All right. I was interested to see that too from Richard's research, that by commenting as a page yourself, so that's not commenting from you as a person, but as your page, that increases engagement on your own page and quite significantly by 15%. So how is it possible to do that, first of all? How easy is it? And what kind of comments can a page actually make? Because I find this one a little difficult. I mean, I'd really like to be doing more of this myself because it obviously makes a big difference, but I'm never quite sure when I'm commenting as a page whether or not that's going to be seen as a good thing, because I'm never quite certain that the comments that I make might hit the right note. So have you got any ideas for helping us to be able to use this particular little scheme quite well?
And it's a fine line between commenting to help and spamming someone else's posts, you know, so it's important. And I love your point on that one. It's really important to be mindful of, is it appropriate for your company logo to show up on a post? And I'm seeing a whole wide range of that happening where it's inappropriate. And I've, you know, had it happen to my post quite a lot recently. And there's a couple of things that I would say here. Whilst it may be good for the algorithm, as far as, you know, Richard's saying that you can go out there and comment as your company, it's not easy to do from within the company page unless you've been tagged or unless it's a hashtag post that your company is following that hashtag. So let me break that down into two so it's not as confusing. Commenting as your company page is not just something that's inherent within the LinkedIn page's functionality. So if your page is tagged somewhere else, you can go in, and that's appropriate, right? You've been tagged, it makes sense to go and comment as your page. Now, sometimes people feel a little bit weird about doing that, and a way that sometimes you can get around it is sign it off with I do it at Michelle Raymond, so you can see that it was actually me and Good Trading Co. So if you've got multiple employees, it's a way that you can get around it if you feel a bit icky around trying to pretend you're a company when you're a solopreneur. You know, people can find it a little bit uncomfortable. So that's one way that you can do it. The only other way that you can do it is with a Google plugin that I use, which makes commenting as a company page a bit easier. Now, that's not something that's endorsed by LinkedIn. It's something that happens off the platform. It does make my life easier, but it's not something that is, you know, within LinkedIn. Now, here's the catch that I want people to kind of understand, more than just worrying about these extra 15%, which is a significant increase, but just something to be mindful of. If you go out as your company page and you do all of this commenting, beware that you will not get notified if someone responds to your comment. And that can have really bad consequences, worse than not commenting. And what I mean by that is, if you go out there and say, my company can really help you with this problem, blah, 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 and then the person you were trying to help responds and says, that'd be great, can you contact us? And you ignore it, what does that look like for your company?
Yeah, not good. I agree.
Not good, right? So this is something that I just want people to be mindful of. Where you can comment as your company page is every single company page at setup is allowed to nominate 3 hashtags that page will follow. And there's a new hashtags feed on the homepage of your company page. So when you're in page admin view, so you've got 3 hashtags. If a post on LinkedIn uses one of those 3 hashtags, you will get notified of ones that LinkedIn think are relevant for your company page to go and comment as. And it's really easy, no plugins, no anything. Now, what happens? Same problem. Go in and jump in. You may be spamming someone else, because I find, like, you know, Lynnaire, you and I might do similar jobs, so we use similar hashtags. You know, it might be content marketing, might be one we both use, but it's not appropriate for me every time LinkAbility goes and does a post and uses hashtag content marketing for me to come and comment as Good Trading Co. Like, you know, we'll end up in fisticuffs, and we can't have an international incident before the book gets launched, right? Like, right. So we've come this far. So, you know, just be mindful of that point. And that's something that LinkedIn wants companies to be involved in conversations. That's why that hashtag thing is there. I did some trialing of that up front, and I think they'll end up expanding that even more. But as I've said to them, without some kind of notification that someone's responded to it, I don't want to get involved in more conversations. The danger is worse than the reward.
I agree. The last point that I picked up from the research was that by varying your post formats, it can increase your views. Now, I was quite intrigued by that. And I also would be interested to know, and I didn't go back to check to see whether or not that was the case with posts from personal profiles. But now that there are all the different post types that you can publish on profiles onto pages, it would make sense that using different formats would increase your audience, because people consume content in different ways. And so some people like to watch videos, other people like to read long form content, articles even. And so I think by having a variety, then you will certainly reach a wider audience. But I was interested that it increased views by such a significant amount.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how you could tie those two things back together to get that measurement, but I assume there's a method to the madness. But I definitely encourage people to, mix things up, use all the different formats. Again, it's going to come down to a balancing act. How much time do you have to put into creating content for your company page? If it's something, if you're a writer, is it a good use of your time to create, spend 10 times longer trying to create a video, or vice versa? So you will always have a signature style. You always have to manage the resources, your business goals. But I do like to mix it up, because you don't know who your followers are. Everyone's different, and it's important to try and appeal to that, wider audience.
Absolutely. And I think that it makes it a lot more interesting when you are using different kinds of posts too. And it makes you produce different kinds of content in different sorts of ways. And I think that gives you more flexibility as a content creator, both in the way you actually get results, but also in terms of what formats you use, but how you actually do that. So the structure of your material might be different, and you might come up with different ideas, something that might work well in a video but doesn't work well as an image, for example. And so those kind of things I think that you can take into account when you're looking at different post formatting as well. So I'm really pleased to see some of that research now taking shape and being available. So we'll post when we put this up, we will put in the comments where you can go to find Richard's report and find out more about how the algorithm responds to both personal profiles and LinkedIn in general. So now then, Michelle, you and I have been working this year on a book, have we not?
Oh my God, we have. So thank you for the opportunity to work with you on this one. I am not taking the credit for the idea. That is 100% Lynnaire Johnston's brainwave. It's
been a really good kind of co-authorship, in the sense that Michelle is the company pages specialist. So she's the subject matter expert. And of course, I've already got one book under my belt, LinkAbility. And so I'm the writer, and that's what I bring to the party. And so we haven't yet had an international incident by falling out. So I think we're going to get right through to the end.
Oh my God, we're so close though, aren't we? And I think you undersell yourself so much there, because it's been definitely a partnership where we've brought the best out of each other. So I wanted to say thank you for making this process amazing, because I said to you in the beginning, I've never written one before. I know you have. It's an amazing book. If you don't have it yet, go out and buy LinkAbility. But I was like, whatever I lack in experience, I make up for in enthusiasm. So hopefully I've shown you that.
And we've had some great discussions about company pages. And one of the things I like about being a writer and writing a lot about LinkedIn is I learn so much. And I learn by writing. So everything that I write about in terms of LinkedIn, I have to research first and I experiment with. And so being able to do the same with company pages has really opened my eyes to the potential of company pages. And I had long had the belief that this really was where the gold mine is in LinkedIn and company pages in the future. And I'm so pleased to have found Michelle, and as you can see, we get along really well. We have a great time together, and we think that the book is going to really help people understand what company pages are all about, how to use them well, and also why they will make a big difference in their marketing. So now I just want to quickly pop over to the chat just to check to see whether there are any questions here that we need to answer. And several people said they can't wait to get the book. Thank you very much, Michelle Seaton. very nice to see you here today. And so I just want to check to make sure whether there's anything else here. Love the title. Yes, well, there was a long discussion about the title, wasn't there, Michelle? Michelle actually.
That's the hardest part. Like, talking about company pages is easy. Coming up with a name and which color the design should be, that's the hard part. So the only thing that I'd also add, if you're someone that, used company pages say a couple of years ago and haven't had a look at it recently, then we highly encourage people to go back and have a look, because so much has changed. We've just spoke about the tip of the iceberg here today, but the book covers off everything in more detail, but it's worth going back and having a look to see how you can build your company brand to support your personal brand and get the best out of both.
I agree. Now, James has asked a question, Michelle, that I think that we ought to answer before we move on. Is it possible to turn comments off for live streaming videos?
Yeah, so you don't have to actually display them. So you get the choice about what comments will come up and what comments don't. So you're the controller of that. So I use StreamYard. It has a whole tab so I can keep one eye on what's going on over in the corner. But if I don't want to display that on the screen so people watch it, I can't. But in the actual chat offline, people can just keep typing away. But what actual you see in the view, you control that side.
Paul's asked when product pages are going to be rolling out. He missed us talking about that earlier in the webinar, and the answer to the question is soon. Soon.
So I've seen a sign of it with one account. Wasn't my account. I wish it was my account, but I've seen one pop up so far in the pages I manage. So soon is in near future, not a long time away.
All right, and Michelle has talked about Michelle Seaton has asked about paid advertising. This is not something that we are particularly au fait with, but we will independently get back in touch with you on that one, Michelle, and answer your questions there. Now, some other people have put some really great comments, both Paul and Ryan have put some really good comments in the chat, which is worth you while having a bit of a read of, just to make sure that you have picked up some of their ideas as well. So do have a look at that before we finish. And so I just want to show you where you can go to find out more information. As I said at the beginning, if you haven't yet connected with Michelle, then you should, because she writes some absolutely fabulous material on LinkedIn, and I always make sure that every day I go onto her profile and check that I've not missed anything, because she writes so much that it's really quite hard to keep up. So and her information is really good information, good value added and useful. You certainly need to follow. So you can also follow me. I do something similar, but I don't concentrate just on company pages. I do talk about other areas of LinkedIn, and I like to talk about changes on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
To talk about new ideas and new ways to use LinkedIn. You can find all my free resources there on my Linktree, and of course, if you wish to buy my fabulous book, LinkAbility, please.
You should buy.
And also, I have a new members site where I have a library of more than 100 pieces of content about LinkedIn that will help you if you are serious about using LinkedIn in your marketing and your personal branding. So it would be great if you wanted to have a look at that and see whether that was something that was useful for you too. So, Michelle, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really pleased that we have had another chat, and do you think we might be needing to do this again in another 4 months, that there might be so much change to company pages that we'll need to be revisiting webinar?
Oh my God, I will be back, and we've got a live coming up. So you get to come on my live next time, and we're going to talk about the book launch. Yes. And there's probably going to be new launches on features within that time anyway. So, I love that we're having these conversations about company pages. I can see that the conversation on LinkedIn is changing already, and we're starting to see other people. So if you're like someone that wants to get a jump and, like a head start on other businesses, if you don't do this, your competitors will. So it's up to you and your, like business owners, it's up to you to take control. So we're here to help. So it's been amazing to have the conversation as always.
As always, a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you very much indeed, Michelle. And thank you too for joining us from wherever in the world you might have happened to be today. And we will be sending out the webinar replay link to you tomorrow to everybody who has registered. So thanks again for coming along today, everyone. It's been lovely to see you all here, and we will see you on the next one.